Good morning. Denise Dryden out here on Bainbridge Island. And for those of you who've been watching these weekly videos over the years, ever since I moved to Bainbridge, when I'm sitting in front of this big fir tree, it means that there's big work to do and there's big things to talk about, because she sort of sits back there and holds me as I bring some really important information forward. So what I want to talk about today is how to create an octahedron. How to create an octahedron, which is a physical sort of or imaginary or an energetic space around you, in however you want to look at it, right? And what the reasons are for doing that, right? So there are things that come up in our life where we want something like that. So an octahedron is an intentional use of your mind, of energy, of what you want to accomplish, right? It's a tool that you use with confidence, like, hey, I need to set this thing up. I need to take care of myself. And it's really poignant to be able to use this tool when you have relationship issues, when you have energy issues, when you have work issues, when you have environmental issues. So I thought that this is a really good time to start talking about this, because the octahedron is a sovereign space. It's where you create what you need and how you sort of protect your physical space and your energetic space all at the same time. Does that make sense? Okay, so what we're doing really with the octahedron is we're creating stability. We're stabilizing our environment so we can interact with people, places, experiences, okay? So it is an 8-sided, 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom, triangle, right? So it's at the top and it's at the bottom. Probably should have had some props here, but sorry about that. I can use my hands, right? Top and bottom. So a triangle has 3 sides, but there's 4 of them. So there's 4 on the top and there's 4 on the bottom. So it's the number 8, which I think is interesting, because 8 is how you manifest, how you make things happen, how you bring things into form, right? And it's how you manage and create things. So it's sort of like it's where your thoughts turn into form in front of you. You imagine, you desire, you want something, you focus on something, and it comes into form. That's the power of the 8. So 8 is how we create ownership. It's how we direct. It's how we direct the setting that we're in now, right? So the octahedron is also a sacred place. It's a place for meditation, for inner dialogue, for reflection, for when you need to meditate, when you need to sleep, when you need to go inside, when you need to sort of feel protected from the outer world. I like to think that the octahedron is really about cloaking too. It is sort of like the Harry Potter invisibility cloak, right? When you really need to just set up a barrier between you and the outside world, you can be invisible. You can feel protected. You can block, or you can even choose to sort of like, I'm going to navigate this way. I'm not navigating that way. So an octahedron is a boundary, and it's an energetic boundary. So you can protect your physical self, your energetic system, and any courting or interaction that happens with another person. So I'll give you a couple of examples. About 4 nights ago, I noticed that I have a little bit of arthritis, sort of pain that comes through these fingers once in a while. And sometimes at night, they will just start screaming at me, especially like between 2 and 5 in the morning. And so finally I just like, enough. And I got up and I set the octahedron around me and I pushed out. I need no pain in here. I need no energy zinging me. I need to sleep. And it was interesting that just like that, you know, it all went away. And I thought, okay, this is getting a lot more powerful than I ever thought it was. It is also a cloaking that you can put on when you go out in public. So right now, with all this virus stuff, and you know, should you be wearing masks? Should you be wearing gloves? What if you just cloaked yourself and said nothing that is not in my highest interest comes in, and anything that I have does not go out, right? So then we have this protection around us. It's pretty cool. It is also a really good tool to use when you're in dynamics, family dynamics, when you have an angry teen in the house, when you have some conflict going on with a spouse, when you're sad and you don't know what to do, when there's emotions that can go back and forth, and then you're sort of like, I don't know if this is mine or if this is theirs. This is where you say, you know, I'm just going to stay in my own little snow globe. This is how we set the snow globe up and seal it, right? This is my space, okay? So that's the beauty of the octahedron. So I'm going to walk you through the way that I set this up, the way that I was taught to set it up, and the way that I've been playing with it over the last 2 years, okay? So the first thing is that we want to establish ourselves as sovereign. We want to establish ourselves as a vertical column. So the first thing that I do is I go to my feet, I go to my root chakra, I go to the base of my torso, and I ground. So, you know, sometimes I've used an Indiana Jones whip and like, you know, my God, just let me hold on to something there in the center of the earth, right? And what I've learned is that we have the earth, we have Gaia, our earth sister. You can call it whatever you want. The center of the earth, the crystal palace at the center of the earth, Gaia, our sister. You can use whatever terminology works for you. But the point is just to go straight down and anchor in and say, I need you. I need to be held by the earth right now. I need to be fed and sustained by the earth, and I'm going to create a solid anchor. And then you breathe up into your heart, and then you breathe it down into earth, and you say, see, I have all of this to give you. And you breathe up, and then you breathe out. I've got all of this to give you, until you have this cycle, right? It's beautiful. So then the next thing that you do is you go up. You go up to, whether it's God, Yahweh, whether it's Great Spirit, whether it is the galactic center, the central star, the earth, or the star mother, whatever terminology, whatever connection you have to your guides, to spirit, to source, whatever works for you, you go up and you contact that and you say, bring it in through the top of my head, down through my body, into my heart, and go, there we are. And you breathe it in. And you breathe it out, and you give it back to them. And you breathe it in, and you breathe it out. Because really, ultimately, we're having a human experience here, and there isn't a lot of access for anyone to be able to get to that. So we sort of give this loving energy back and forth. And then what I like to do is bring them both up from Gaia, from the heavens, and stir it up, and then send it back out. So that I end up being this super wide column of just love and light. Just love and light. There it is. So I've pulled in, and this is what Alan Seal has called the vertical column in his presence coaching. Once you establish this vertical column, you're solidly in your body holding presence. Does that make sense? So what we do now is we're going to start to run it out. We're going to start to push it out, and we're going to establish it. And I like to use the four, that's so funny. The 4 elements. I like to use the 4 directions for this. It was so weird. It was just like 4 and it just swished out for a second. Okay, so when I use the 4 directions, I have a very intentional way of calling them out. I go first to the east, because the east represents air. It represents that mental process, right? It's how I produce my thoughts. It's how I construct and design things. And it also represents, east represents air. It also represents the swords in tarot. And so it's, you know, clouds, wind, movement, oxygen that sustains us. It's how we bring things into form. It's how we design and create systems, right? And organizations. So what I do is I call in the direction of the east. So I always make sure I know where it is first, which for me, the east is going to be right here. So I call in the directions of the east. And, you know, then I can envision when I look east, the Rocky Mountains, the plains, the big cities on the East Coast, the expansiveness of this planet, the way that the air and the clouds just move it around. And I identify with it and I anchor it. Thank you. Okay? And then I call in the directions of the south. And the south is fire. The south is passion. It's where warmth comes from. It's where anger and passion and love and willpower and force comes from. It's the energy that sustains us. It brings us our life force. So it's where attraction and effort and everything. So, you know, again, I call in the directions of the south, and I think of palm trees and tropics. and sunshines and deserts and heat and bodies interacting and all of that passion sort of things that make it like stir me up and get me my energy flowing. So I call in the direction of the south, right? And then I move over and I call in the direction of the west. So the west is emotions. It's water, okay? In tarot, it's cups. And so, you know, we're made up of, I think our highest percent, some statistics say 70, I like to think about 90% water. So water is who we are. It's how we interact with the world. It's connection, it's love, it's vibration, it's a language in and of itself. It's collaboration. Water flows and intermingles with each other. So when we talk about having this power of the emotions in the West, I think of oceans and creatures of the sea and lakes and rivers. And I think it can be calm, it can be wavy, it can be torrential, it can be powerful, thunderous, it can be strong, and it can be so reflective and still. So I call in the power, I call in the direction of the west. And then I move and I call in the direction of the north. Because the north, oh my God, the north is the physical plane. It's earth. It's the way that we embody. It's how we care and feed for our bodies. It's how our cells are alive. They're alive and they're vibrant on this earth. So earth is what holds us. In the tarot, this is discs, this is pentacles. And so this is where our daily reality, our presence is in front of us. And this is where we partner with it. Like, this is the world I'm on. What am I going to do today? How am I going to interact with it? And you can either work against it or you can work with it, right? So now we have this horizontal space where I go, you know, east, south, west, north, and then I put that 4 square out and I anchor it. And so now I've got my vertical column and my horizontal column, and I've locked it in. And if you look at this from the side, it's a beautiful octahedron, and I'm in the center. So that what I do now that I'm in the center is I can take that octahedron and I can put that around my head. And I can say, I need my thoughts to just be protected. There's too much going on. I'm overwhelmed right now. I can put it around my heart and say, I am feeling so much. I need to know what to do right now. And so I can protect it. I can expand it and just bring it out so that it's around me. Kind of like Harry Potter and the invisibility cloak. I am solidly within this octahedron. There are times at night when I live on a more deserted side of the island, and in the winter there aren't a lot of people here. So sometimes if I hear a sound or I get a little creeped out, I'll just expand it to my room or expand it over the house. I'll expand it over the island. I'll expand it over the whole Puget Sound and just sort of say, for right now, I'm safe. I'm in a calm spot. I get to control, I get to experience what's inside this octahedron, and I get to keep out whatever I don't want in. So it's a way of being very sovereign and very in control of who I am and what I need. Okay, so you can expand it or you can shrink it, and you are the manager. However, this is how we set it. This is how we set ourselves. This is how we set our lives. This is how we create our sovereignty. So we don't put octahedrons around other people. We put octahedrons around us. And then we can expand and include other people. We can expand and include what interfaces with us. But this is our energetic sort of system. This is our energetic creation, right? So we can create calm and we can create peace and we can create sovereignty in here, which says nothing will enter this field that I haven't given conscious permission for. Nothing will enter this field that is aimed at harm. Nothing can enter this field that is based on service to self. Nothing can enter this field that I don't choose to allow to enter. So the octahedron becomes a very powerful tool, and it's something that I've been using really a lot more than I ever thought I would over the last year, and especially over the last 3 to 4 months. So I thought I would share that with you. You can find it on this video on Facebook, and then it moves over to LinkedIn and on to YouTube. And there are tons of other videos where I use this as, this, not this particular, but teach tools like these. So if you're interested, you can find them. You can also find them on my website, and you can get a hold of me there. DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Have a wonderful Sunday. Have a wonderful Memorial weekend, and get out there and practice. Practice this little cloaking. Sort of set it up. See how it works. Take care. Bye-bye.